Brought to you by Ayoko, Africa's leading integrated technology services company.
Welcome back. Now, e-commerce continues to expand in South Africa. According to the Retail Spend Monitor from Visa Consulting and Analytics, online retail spend bagged growth of nearly 50% last year. That's near doubling from the previous year. Business Day's Mudiwa Gavaza joins us to discuss what the spike in online shopping reveals about the local consumer and direction of the retail industry. Mudiwa, good to chat to you once again on Tech Talk on Business Lunch. Why the spike? I mean, is this just ease of access? And it's December and it's time to buy gifts. Why the spike?
So I'd say one of the big things that was actually being tracked, we spoke to the team, from Visa that put this together. They actually attributed a number of things, to what's going on. Firstly, you've got just a general growth in e-commerce that's been happening. Interestingly, the finding that Visa found is quite in line with another finding that Takealot as well as the e-commerce forum of South Africa had come up with. Their estimation was for 2025, they were projecting that e-commerce would be 10% of retail, which accounts for 130 billion rand. Visa found, in the period of their study festive season, that e-commerce accounted for about 11.5%, of the total retail. So I found it very interesting that, these things, are coming so closely together. The other thing, that's also being spoken about is the fact that there's just a general better trust, right, of e-commerce platforms. Obviously, a lot of that was helped by the COVID-19, pandemic. And then the second thing is also the fact that in many instances, a lot of retailers are actually making certain deals or certain products only available online.
Oh, that's quite sneaky, actually. That really is quite sneaky. So you'll go there. Also, B20 and G20, it was around about that time. And you're thinking about all those pounds and dollars coming into the country. Yeah. Was there also a spike because of that?
Definitely. They actually showed that apart from, because what they noted is obviously you've got people coming into a place like Johannesburg, so that they can attend the various G20, B20, events and summits. But there was also a level of leisure travel that was tied, into that, where people would either go into surrounding areas, some of the places around Joburg, for a couple of days just to see the sights, or they would all go to a Cape Town or go to a Durban, and then, whilst you're there, you're either using your own money or you've got a corporate card, for you, for you to be able to, see the sites, etc. So those are some of the elements that they were pointing out on.
I suppose e-hailing drivers as well, they would see this because there's an increase in the influx of them as well. What are they saying? I mean, they're also combined to what you're ordering on your cell phone.
So it's interesting, that you're bringing up this point. Yesterday, we were actually at an Uber event where they were talking about some of the progress that they've been able to see. The specific projects that we had just gone to see is the fact that they were able to get about 700 merchants, from Soweto onto the platform. And over 3 years, they've been able to generate R1 billion, worth of value. But once again, it's the fact that e-commerce is actually, there's two sides. First is the trust factor. Second is the convenience factor. Third is the fact that e-commerce is actually helping to get a lot more businesses to be visible outside of where they would normally, operate. Someone who's coming and patronizing your coffee shop or your small store, suddenly that person can sell, to a broader city or to a country, from that point of view. So I definitely found that interesting. I think just if I just help to quote here, some of the areas that they were talking about, they actually said that they saw, most of the, most of the impact, actually being embraced from the likes of retail. Obviously, you had your electronics, and then obviously you had your flights and accommodation. The other thing, they also found that there was a 27.4% increase in retail e-commerce spend between 23 and 24.
Okay.
But by the time we reach, this last year, that has now increased, to 50% increase.
What are people buying? Come on, what are people buying? Because, all right, there's flights and there's e-hailing, etc., etc. You did mention electronic goods as well. Are people just, is it electronic goods? Because that's the thing as well. Do I want to order that online? Because it comes in a box and someone's shaken it.
Here I need to reference this so that I don't make mistakes. But they cited that the increase in spending was a couple of big categories. Food and restaurants saw the highest increase, of 29% compared to the year before. Retail stores, 28% increase, in spending driven by apparel, accessories and discount store segments, and then air travel and accommodation that grew by 14%, and then local commute and travel, which speaks to the Uber question that we had earlier on. That was a 10% increase, particularly in Johannesburg, and Visa actually attributes the increase, particularly for local commute and travel, to G20, B20, that there are a lot more people in the city. They're going to turn to a service that they know. That's an Uber, that's a Bolt, and then you see that increase happening.
We're looking at stimulating our local economy, and of course sometimes a lot of us go and order online from overseas companies. What sort of a percentage is that? When we turn to an overseas company, we order clothing, we order something special. Is there a local dominance coming in that sphere?
The tough part about that is the fact that I'm going to use Takealot to illustrate what I'm saying. Takealot is a South African platform, but 60% of the gross merchandise value that's flowing on that platform is coming from third-party sellers, which is similar to Amazon and other platforms. Those third-party sellers, a lot of them are sourcing their material from China, So sometimes it becomes a bit hard, to decide, okay, when we say we want to support local entrepreneurs, local retailers, what do we mean exactly? And in many senses, that's one of the reasons why the likes of Shein and Temu were able to make such inroads, right?
They did.
Because you were almost cutting out that middle layer of people that had always been ordering, and then you were just going direct, to some of these. So I'd probably say that's one of the hardest, parts when it comes to, measuring that particular component. I haven't seen, direct data on what, that necessarily looks like right now, but I can certainly tell you that that's where the difficulty would come.
All right, 2026, we're only sitting now in February. What's the outlook for 26? Because if this is what's happened just over a couple of months, I would think the trajectory would be up and up and up.
What I'm waiting to see is whether we can maintain the 50% increase, right? Because 23 to 24, that was roughly 25 to 27% increase.
Right.
24 into 25, that's a 50%. That's a huge jump, right? So the big question is, do we maintain that growth and then you push up even further, either at that 50% level or above, or are we sort of maintaining a certain, kilter? Because even in some of the developed markets, I believe places like the UK and the US, your e-commerce doesn't generally go beyond, let's call it 35-40%, of retail. So as advanced as even those countries are, physical retail, traditional retail is still, the mainstay. So just looking at our developmental level, those are the things. I can see a world where we can go to about 15% of retail.
Sure.
I'm not a retail expert, but I can see a world where we can get there, especially with so many small businesses now getting onto all of these platforms.
So shopping malls can breathe easy. It's not over just yet. Artificial intelligence, where does this play into all of this? Because we can really use it as a tool to choose what we want to buy, or it gives us inspiration on what to buy.
So interestingly, this is something that Visa noted in this report. But Visa had noted it in a previous report as well, that a lot of people are actually surfacing products through, AI. AI makes recommendations, and then they go and they buy them. Interestingly, if you go into ChatGPT, you now have, certain portals that are now available where ChatGPT can search, I believe it's booking.com and a couple of other e-commerce platforms on your behalf, right? Because people are looking for ease of shopping, ease of the convenience, right? Just go to ChatGPT. I need
so in other words,
and just spits it out for
it's
you.
right there. You can really do it. Yeah, we're going to leave it there, I'm afraid. It's something we can talk about all day long, especially when it comes to artificial intelligence. That was Business Day's Mudiwa Gavaza.
Brought to you by Ayoko, Africa's leading integrated technology services company.